This is Fieldsports Channel News. It's a wasted opportunity to deal with the real issues surrounding badgers and bovine TB. That's the verdict of Gareth Wynne-Jones, who says far too much of what he told the BBC in Brian May's documentary, The Badgers, the Farmers and Me, was left on the cutting room floor, which aired on BBC Two on the 23rd of August 2024. Instead, Gareth agrees with widespread criticism that the BBC show was too one-sided and ignored key issues.
Let's not really think that it's finished here. You know, there is solutions, there is science, and there is ways and means that we can do this, and I think we have to work together. My door's still open, but I'll be a little bit more weary with the TV cameras and the production of things, because I do feel let down.
European countries that ban the import of hunting trophies are breaking the law. That's the conclusion of a lawyer commissioned to explore the issues surrounding hunting trophy import bans by European nations. Dr. Katja Gott says they're in violation of European trade laws and that trade regulation law should be used to govern trophy imports and not environmental policy. Trade rules in countries such as Belgium, Finland, France and the Netherlands are exclusively governed by the EU. It means those in the EU who have banned imports have broken EU law. The study was carried out by a German law firm on behalf of the International Council for Game and Wildlife Conservation.
Well, we're hoping this will have the effect on the national states instead of the Commission, to say that this is the competence of the European Commission, that this is the national members of the European Union don't have the legal competence to enact these laws against trophy bans.
With a trophy import ban, Labour government promise, we at Safari Club International United Kingdom welcome the news that this may turn out to be illegal, as it seems to be in the European Union. I'm sure that many African countries also welcome this EU news, as it has seemed that Western governments had decided that they knew what was best for Africa and had the right to govern how the African people manage their countries. If that isn't neo-colonialism and racism, I don't know what is.
Labour says it's going to appoint a wildfire czar. The new government says it needs an expert to liaise with farm services across the UK to help reduce the number of uncontrolled fires, such as the one that caused this damage to moorland in Melton a few weeks ago. Gamekeepers and moorland managers routinely used to carry out controlled burning on heather and grassland, which helped reduce the threat of wildfires during extreme weather. Muirburn can now only be carried out under licence. Following a wet spring in 2024, 2025 is expected to be a bumper year for fires, especially on land managed by the National Trust and RSPB, which are opposed to Muirburn. Chris Packham's comments about Barclays customers has led to calls for him to be sacked from the RSPCA and RSPB. The BBC TV presenter made the anti-oil related statement on a public stage at an event for the group Action for Wildlife. He says anyone who banked with Barclays should stick their head in a bucket of petrol and set fire to it. His comment is now subject of an official complaint to the Charity Commission. The BBC Wildlife presenter is president of the RSPCA and vice president of the RSPB. MP Greg Smith, who issued the complaint, says both charities should consider if Packham is a fit and proper person to hold office with the charities.
And Chris Packham has a long history of frankly saying inappropriate things. Now, I believe in free speech, and a lot of the time it's just a case that I don't agree with him. But I'm sorry, inciting people who bank with a particular bank to put their head in a bucket of oil and set fire to it.
Gun grab victim Chris Sharp hopes the police will make changes to the way they deal with cases like his. Chris, a lifelong field sports enthusiast and licensed gun owner, was at the centre of a bizarre police gun grab. They seized his guns because he was the victim of an assault. He took Kent Police to court to get his guns back and won the case in a landmark ruling, which was supported by Basque. You can hear the whole story in this week's Field Sports podcast, linked below. Here's what Chris has been left hoping.
I hope they learn from what happened, but the way they handled it and the way they made me feel, it just wasn't right. It didn't need to happen. I think when we won the case and the police commissioner came over and said, well done, and I said, I haven't won here. Neither of us have won here today. I felt like I shouldn't have been here and you should have done your job properly.
AI is preventing deer from trespassing on railway lines. Network Rail introduced the AI system on the East Coast Main Line from London to Edinburgh in 2023 and claims it has stopped around 6,000 animals from walking out on the tracks, preventing accidents and delays. The system uses audible alarms when deer approach, scaring them away from the railway. There are now plans to install it on other rail networks across the UK. One of Britain's largest rewilding charities is threatening to cut jobs. The Scotsman newspaper reports that landowner the John Muir Trust has told 12 staff they will lose their jobs. They've already parted company with 5 trustees who resigned in March. The charity, which runs the Quinag estate, among others in Scotland, recorded loss of £1.9 million in its last financial year. Some newspapers report that the rewilding funding bubble has burst in Scotland, leading to a fall in land prices. And finally, people ignoring safety advice are the most likely to be attacked by crocodiles. Sounds obvious really, but that's the verdict of a new study into reducing the number of attacks by crocodiles on humans in Australia's Northern Territories. The study says culling the animals is an ineffective and expensive solution to the problem and suggests a programme of encouraging modification of human behaviour. That, to you and me, means staying away from crocodiles. Culling can work though, as the residents in the town of Bulla in Australia's Northern Territories discovered. They killed a big croc that had been terrorising the area, showed the dead animal off to local school children, and then barbecued it for a giant feast hosted by the local police force. Apparently, the crocodile tail soup went down a storm. You are now up to date with Fieldsports Channel News. Stalking the stories, fishing for facts.